Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope you all are doing well and welcome back after a very long break. And I hope that the midterm exams all went well. This is me, Aisha Zahid, your science teacher, and I welcome you all a very warm welcome. As you know that we have started our final term session. Hopefully it will went smooth and effective, and from now to onwards we'll be discussing the topics and the chapters that are included in our final term session, right? So let's get started. First of all, as we know that this is your book for grade 7, so today we are going to discuss the ongoing chapter of our in the class, okay, of the grade 7. So this is your book which is published by Cantab. The chapter that we are discussing in the class is physical and chemical changes and processes. It's a very important as well as very interesting topic to study. First of all, we have studied the basic concepts of physical and chemical changes. Basically, what physical change is, what chemical change is. Physical changes are the changes that are not that are visible, that are reversible. Physical changes are those changes that are temporary changes, as well as the chemical composition of a substance of a compound is not affected in the physical change, right? Then we have discussed some of the examples of physical change, and the examples include the melting of ice cube, uh, that include the crushing of a can, that includes the stretching of a rubber band. These all are the examples that we have discussed in the class regarding the physical change. Then we have discussed the concept of chemical change. So what basically chemical change is: chemical changes are those that are not visible, that are irreversible. Chemical changes are those that are permanent changes, and then the chemical composition is affected in the chemical change, right? Then we have discussed some sort of examples in the chemical change, which includes the burning of log, the rusting of iron, the browning of apple, the boiling of an egg. All these examples were included in the chemical change. Then we have studied some sort of case studies that you guys have decided by your own that whether the example is the chemical change or a physical change, in which we have discussed that the straightening of the hair is a physical change. Why? Because it's a temporary change, and after some time the hairs will get back into their original shape, right? We have discussed that the toasting of a bread is a chemical change because it's changing the color of a bread, and the composition of a bread is getting changed. That's why it's a chemical change and it's not reversible. So this was all about the physical and chemical changes, like the basic concept of physical and chemical changes. Then we have discussed that is there any case uh, where physical and chemical changes are occurring simultaneously, like physical and chemical changes occurs at the same point, at the same state. So yes, the answer is yes. The physical and chemical changes may occur simultaneously. Why? Like when? So it's during the burning of a candle. Like what basically happens is, during the burning of a candle, when the solid wax started melting, it's the physical change because the solid wax starts melting, and then after some times, the moment it's touching the ground, like it's touching the surface, that melted wax started solidifying itself again, right? So it's a physical change because it is a reversible change. The solid wax starts melting and then again reverse its state into the solid state. So the question arises that what is a chemical change here? So the burning produces some sort of gases which include carbon dioxide, nitrogen gas, carbon monoxide gas. These are the presence of these gases indicates that this is a chemical change, right? So yes, the chemical change and physical change may occur simultaneously in many of the examples, right? So today we are going to discuss the use of fertilizers in the agriculture. Now, first of all, I wanted to make a decision that what basically fertilizers are. So, fertilizers are the substances or the products that are uses in the soil, right? In the soil to make it more fertile. The fertilizers are added in the soil to make that soil able to produce the plants, to produce the crops, to produce the vegetables and everything, right? So basically plants take nutrients from the soil. Now the question is that how the soil gets nutrients. So basically what happens is our soil is rich in nutrients and in minerals because of the decomposition of many living organisms in the soil, right? So the soil is rich in nutrients and minerals, so plants take nutrients, the required amount of nutrients from the soil. Then sometimes what happens is soil gets worn out and it could not provide sufficient nutrients to the plants. So what happens is that we have to provide an artificial amount of nutrients to the plant so that it can survive, it can produce the crops and all. So the artificial nutrients are in a form of fertilizers, okay? So what basically fertilizers are? Fertilizers is any substance added to the soil to make it more fertile, to make it able to produce the crops, right? It may be natural or synthetic. Like now there are some natural objects that can be used as a source of fertilizers. The natural source is the animal manure, right? The animal manure is used as a natural fertilizer. Like after adding that animal manure in the crops and in the plants, the land is being fertile, right? The next is an artificial yapper synthetic fertilizers, and that includes like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and so on. The synthetic fertilizers are produced and like are made by the chemical reactions and the chemical um like the chemical compositions are being exchanged, okay, between the compounds. So by this method synthetic fertilizers are uh, manufactured. The chemical properties of fertilizers are just like the same as we are having the nutrients. Like they provide nitrogen, they provide phosphorus, and they provide potassium to the plant, okay? So that the plant can grow the crops and everything. Whereas the physical properties such as particle size, hardness, and hygroscopicity, etc. Okay, so there are some factors that can affect uh, the activity of a fertilizers. Okay, now the size of a fertilizer depends that what kind of fertilizer have to be used. Okay, so the fertilizers that are smaller in size are more effective to be used because they are smaller in size, so they can be easily dissolved in the water, right? As compared to the fertilizers that are larger in size, they are effective in their own, but the fertilizers smaller in size are more effective and are more efficient in working as compared to the fertilizers of the larger size. Then the hardness, like the hard particles of fertilizer are more efficient than the soft ones because hard particles can produce more nutrients than the soft ones, right? Now there is a term known as hygroscopacity, which is unfamiliar with you guys. You don't know this term, and basically what the meaning of this term is: the ability to absorb the moisture from the surface. Okay, so fertilizers have the ability to absorb the moisture from the surface, from the ground, from the soil, and like it's from the environment. So the more the fertilizer would be hygroscopic, the more it would be efficient and the more it would be effective in working, right? So the size of the fertilizer should be small, but not uh, like the size should not be less than 5 millimeters. It should be 5 millimeters minimum, and then it can exceed from the different sizes. It would create dust and loss of fertilizers. Similarly, as we have discussed earlier, that hard particles are better than soft ones because they release nutrients gradually. There is a reason that is important from the exam point of view, that why the hard particles are better to be used in a fertilizer than a soft one. So the answer is because they release nutrients gradually. High growth capacity is another property that affects the fertilizer stability. ठीक है. Now is the term, like the next topic is the harmful effects of fertilizers. Fertilizers are important for uh, in a sense to feed the world. When the land is infertile, when there is inefficient amount of nutrients, when there is less amount of crops to be provided to meet the needs of the human beings, so fertilizers are important to meet the needs and to feed the world, right? So but on the other hand, it has some sort of drawbacks, which are the threat for aquatic life. Now what basically happens is fertilizers can be seep into the rivers and the other water bodies that are being used, and that basically the phosphorus present in the fertilizers helps to grow the algae. ठीक है. Algae is a green color organism that is present, that used to grow in the water. So the phosphorus is a medium. Phosphorus provides a medium to the algae to grow, and after the moment when the algae is growing in the water, in the surface, it's what it's doing, it's decomposing the bacteria in the water, and similarly it will decreases the oxygen level in the water. That would be very threatening that in for the life of the water, like the aquatic life, right? So the moment the oxygen level is getting reduced, it will be very threatening for the aquatic life. So phosphorus will help to grow algae in the water, and that algae will automatically decomposes the bacteria, and that will reduces the oxygen level. Okay, in the water supply, now what's being happen, um, in many industries, like in not even industries, and like in the fields as well, there is the amount of water that is being driven into the rivers and into the oceans, and then that water is being used by the humans, right? So the fertilizers contain um, some chemicals in which it includes nitrogen. When the moment the nitrogen is getting into the human body, what it's going to happen, the nitrogen will started binding itself in the blood with the hemoglobin instead of oxygen. Like in the normal cases, what basically happens is oxygen combines with hemoglobin, and then the blood is being circulated into our body. ठीक है, oxygen is very much important for our body, so that we can survive properly, so that all our functions are being done properly into our body, right? So the moment when oxygen is not being bind with the hemoglobin molecule, and the nitrogen is being combined with the hemoglobin molecule, the moment that is very much threatening for the human life. It will cause anemia, it will cause sickness in the human body, which will cause bluish skin that indicates the lackness of oxygen, and on the same time the person will feel um, lack of energy, the person will feel numbness in their body, the person will be lethargic and will not able to perform their daily routines, daily functions properly. So in this way the fertilizers are very much harmful for the human body, right? So I hope that till now we have discussed much, and the lecture is quite understandable to you guys. If there is any question and any query regarding this, you may ask, no, you have to ask in the class, and I should uh, it's it's an order for you guys uh, to read these two pages, these two topics, and you, if you are having any question, if you are having any difficulty in any terminology, you can ask in the class, so that we can score higher and higher scores in the coming MT as well as in the final term examination. Till now, thank you so much for taking your times out. Thank you so much for listening to the lecture, and thank you so much for paying attention. We'll see you in the class. Till then, take care, be safe, and Allah Hafiz.